Electrical defense lines, communication cycles, regeneration interference, and positional directions. Really understand how to use high communications on so many levels of energy locations, how to use position location, how to set up energy hubs. An energy hub is basically a force field. Now, you have to understand how to size graph line interference. It's got two line signals in position to direction. Okay, so this is what it's going to be looking like, right? So it's going to high ground its line interference and position cross signal into northwest, south, and east. So it's in position directions. Now at platitude, it's high line center. So it's got a force line, it's got a trap line, and it's got a rotation spin and position location. Try to understand what an energy field is. You put it on your body every single day, right? But what's going to happen is we're going to travel to California line and calculation line streams. We're going to go through 1,000 line channel locations into 700,000 lines of a bullet train location. You guys are going to be grounded into gravitation center. You're also going to be placed with a gravitational belt in position directions, right? So you're going to be locked in, right? Because you're going to be traveling very fast. Setting position locations, new structure locations, higher grounds, underground subway location. We've done this before, but we get our retract line centers, flush the system line position locations, and set up new energy hub lines. So in position directions, the whole line position is going to be a new structure location, right? So you have to truly understand what an energy hub is and why it's in their location. So it's protecting everything that's outlined. So it's kind of like you're protecting yourself from inside, from out of where you are through position location, right? So it's important you understand what an energy hub is in your direction, right? So think about this. You're going cross signal, okay? You're traveling. So you have an energy field. So think of it as a plasma liquid line. It's a calculation. It's like, it's kind of, it's an energy line center and you're walking, right? And every time you take 12 steps, you're going through a portal. And that portal, it's position of directions. But I really want you guys to understand how to get into your drum scars, right? So you're from here and you go from here. Okay, so you're over here. So you're setting signals from here to here, right? So it's all about understanding triangulation. If you get three center line, center position locations of people in front of you through perception, you've seen three people. If you don't know this, but every single time you see somebody, they're always in triangulation. It's interesting. It doesn't matter where they are standing. You find a way to get the triangulation. And that's how you do the telepathy. And you are the center operation line connections. So you set your own energy hub around the system that you want to communicate with. That blocks everything out in that position location of a circle. Okay? Anything can be done. And basically what it does is just, and it's just you and whoever you have in that position. And everything outside you won't hear because you're in an energy hub. Now, it's very hard to do. You have to be at a certain line to understand the triangulation. If you're looking at perception, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 car lines in position, all in triangulation. Telepathy to 1, telepathy to 2, 3, and 4. Now I got a tree interference, okay, and I got a house line screen in position of front line. So it's truly understand how to use your structure, position, locations of directions, and understanding how to use your hologram location and how you see things through perception. Okay. So that's what we're going to do today. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So before we get started, let's get into waving central lines and communication of solar text location. All right. Danielle, and position location of Jill, Amby, Terry, Don, Lindsay, Pam, Airbender, Michael, Johnny, Amy. Let's see. Yeah, Amy, you have to go through shadow lines. Your position locations getting you in position line center. Sammy, how's it going? Nikki, it's great to see everybody. Pyra, Ashley, Cindy, Chris, connection on Gypsy, All right, so you guys are getting ready. Make sure you pre-flight checks. If you don't understand your travels, that's totally fine. Just try to be observant, but don't bother anybody else. Don't communicate to anybody else unless you understand their telepathy. If you understand their telepathy, you're going to have a problem. So that position location is offline center because you can't see anything because you're not allowing yourself to trust yourself. You don't trust yourself, you won't see anything at all. If you focus on yourself, you start seeing. And that's how this works, right? So it comes into seeing is believing. The high center, not believing is seeing. High interference location is seeing, believing is seeing. High line center location is a level position location of a code signal. Now that opens all line center to code any reference to its position, location, and directions. Now, once you get into the high line center, you start trusting your system inside. And you start registering location, your trusting location, in position of its heart reactor. And then you say to yourself, okay, I'm starting to trust myself now. Now, once you start trusting yourself, you come into the higher line position, right? Your positives are high forcing now through acceleration, especially when you get into Mach centers from a 24, 48, 72, or anything through 144 location, right? We did it in experiment line center. Truly understand that you write these things down, understanding your clocking system. So when you're recharging at nighttime, how many position locations are open through signal through communication line conditions when you are in adaptation of the dimensional line? As true understanding, you should already be prepared what is coming next when you are recharging, when you are lying down. Okay, that's the point of view you got to look across. Computers have that. Okay, you need a charger to charge in your phone or it doesn't turn on, right? You have to uprise the battery system locations to the avatar, right? So it's a signal that goes up and down. It recognizes you. It's charging and the indication location. So it's like a rainbow that's going up and down and it's changing coloration pattern line centers. So you got a vortex line center, which is connected to the placebo interference. It's positioned to its directions. Now it's high channeling line centers when you're going into the projection. And it's interesting too, because when you're recharging, you're seeing the sun and the moon in position. The moon is setting up the projector of what you see in that day location. That's a graph line center location to its hologram structure. That's what gives you its signal in position of direction, right? So really understand the graph line center to perception locations. All right, know exactly where is that direction line system. Okay, so to put yourself in position is actually see the color. Is it blue? Is it pink? Is it orange? Is it yellow? And it's right in front of you. And then you can actually see it. It's a magnetic field line, and then you can actually see it through its graph. And then you can change it and put it back in position location of its directions. So you just change the atmosphere line all through track location, all through grid system. But remember, understanding that the XT1000 lines come in position location of directions. They modify your signals knowing exactly what you're doing before you're traveling. You set the grids, they set the shapes. You travel through the shapes. Okay? Now, this is the central line connections through its operation that you guys have to truly understand. Right? All right. So as in that position. Okay. Calling. Make sure you guys understand your grounds. Drink your waters. Allegiance. Sala. All right. So as we're going to position, location, and directions. Okay, so setting signals. You guys are on to position locations. Magic is where it happens, location of the bus, but you guys are going to be automatically on land speeders. Setting course, channel, location, and position. Now I do this all through codes. Once you stand that space line center and everything through time frequency code line center is nothing but a digital frame of computer location. Right? Once you understand that, you understand why you're in that calculation of this position. First direction line center interference location line conditions. It's all position location high system. Okay. So you get a land speeder, okay, box line interference in position of direction. Okay. So it highlights its system locations, right? Now it doesn't look like much, but you travel through it. Now in position of directions, now we code signal locations. All right. So once you understand the structure lines, illumination graph locations, communications, all right, to LAN, right, slash speeder. Okay, line slash speeder. Okay, open signals. Okay, open, right, slash signals. Okay, in center position locations of team. So it's all calculation to all line connection position, right? Course line channel and high line center. Voice communication line centers and position locations of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Initiate. All right, so you guys are in your land speeders now. All right, so in position locations, you go from 10 to 1, and then you go from 1 to 10. So it's getting a communication line system. You guys are taking off high center. Ground interference location on levels. Cali, connection on lines. High position location of flux capacitor of high channel line rotation in communication. Now, in high center. Now, it's amazing how you do these things to dimensional setting in position of directions. Now we get tunnel line interference. Okay. Wall channels on both line position location of direction. Okay. Now the subline channel comes into a train interference position location of its directions. Trains coming in. All right, so we got high line center and position of direction. There's the doors. All right. So as the doors are coming into high interference position locations, make sure you have your gravitational belts. Okay. G equals belt equals velocity. All right. GBV. All right. So the velocity line center in position of directions, high channels its high line, opens all communication to its line position location. You see it? As it comes to position, down track line center, there's a pyramid. All right, pyramid in high center position, structure low grounds, and highlight rotation. Calculation high stream interference line position locations, set course line centers and security position locations of line. Okay, so we go into security line position. We scan high system right in the center. Okay, there is some high interference. Now we use a web graph line interference line position of directions, right? Traveling extremely fast, okay, into 1,000, okay, equals line connection, okay, voricities, okay, equals velocity, okay, in position locations, all right? So 700,000 line per section. Now that's position location per second, 24-hour line center in position of 60 seconds per minute. Okay. So that's a position location of 700,000, right? Equals per second. Okay. That's extremely fast through a bullet train. Okay. Now that's in calculation modification stream interference. Now it's all position location of its directions. So we're going to set up a plasma channel. Okay. It's a web interference in direction. Okay. Now that opens up the concept, the communication center interference. We go through the electrical grid connections into the triangle force line. Okay. Triangle force line, its position location offline, its connections in position. Setting up new structures. Okay. Into illumination graph center. Okay. Setting structure interference. Okay. So we plotted division locations here, 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 and here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 position of directions. Now we set up a wall signal, okay, in high center in position location, right? It opens all communications to sonar interference, okay? So in position, we're flushing communication of structural lines, subway high channels, communication, semi-electrical fences. Now that position location is a high line in position location of directions, all right? Channeling extremely fast, a high center. Set signals in position locations. All right. Now we're in position locations online. Sarasota, Florida. All right. So S equals F. Okay. So the systematic changes high line center into fluctuation line position, crosses signal in position location. Now that forces its communication, equal line center to communication. Now that opens all channel and high center interference. Now in high center line condition, we set up electrical grid panels. Okay, to graph string. Okay. So it's opened up signals in position of directions, cross position line centers to cross location. All right. So as it comes in that high center, we set up new electrical grid panels, box interference to its line connection. All right. Now, at high position, its high lines, we go through sonar interference of triangles. We got one position of rainbow octave streamline centers and 4 line connections of a diamond core line center, right? There's the diamond. Now, the diamond is set position location of force line in position of directions, equal line in position location to its communication cycle. Sets generation light center to the flux capacitor, the line connection to a systematic line center into 1, 3, 3, 4, 5 position location of direction. Now that sets position locations to new energy fence in force line communications to energy hub. Hub communication of triangle force line. Now that position locations of its position on line center. Okay, so we go in high communications, right? City town position line interference of Galactic connection line rotation. Okay, so we go through city line in position location. All right, very fast high triangles. Okay, basically window doors, high center line interference, position location of directions, skyline triangles. All right, so we go up to energy hub line. Now it comes into purple line rotation. The correlation and the panel line center is in a set signal position direction line interference in position location to its networks. Okay, channel line center to all position location of direction. All right. So it course its position location of its direction line system. Okay. It's all set up through signal. Ooh-ah. All right, so you guys are channeling. Give you guys 20 minutes. Go through high interference locations to all position direction. All right. So knowing exactly what you're doing through graph lines is to understand the position of its directions. So when you guys are traveling through your lines, we're going to go back into shapes and anomalies. Shapes and anomalies, a coloration pattern. One position location of direction. Okay, right here. Now, it's important to understand all line connections are coloration of change, right? Colorations of change. Now, sequence patterns. So in position locations, if the connections to all levels of the red and the blue and the orange and the yellow want to communicate with both line interference, what do you do through track location? Right? You have to find the triangulation first. So the triangulation is what in high center? Because remember, it's not always a high interference. Triangle is everything through formation location because electrical light centers changes its position of directions. So let's say you have the triangle line center, starts in that line conditions, equals position location higher lines. Okay, in position of lines in position locations equals line conditions, all right, engine line inner rotation to plus location. All right, so you're back forcing clock line centers. It's really interesting too because the triangle line center comes into higher line center to its grounds, to its powers, to its magnetic highway formation line connection. That opens all position line of directions. So the triangle comes in high interference to its triangulation, to its correlation. All right. So it's interesting how you put things in direction to coloration of patterns, opening up signals, the high interference, calculation of sonar, alpha channels, delta positions, correlation panels, communication cycles, cyclone interference, and position location of direction. All right. So it's incredible force how you always use point locations, but it's amazing how you travel through a connection, right? Through the underground sequence. All right. And knowing exactly what's going on when you're traveling through line connections, well, through position, through a new screen, a new electrical fence line, and position of direction. And all level line center location is all levels of U through its hub. Okay, that's all set up now. All right. So correlation to grounds has changed. Everything through the panels have changed. Everything through flushing line centers out in position of directions. So it's channeling into atmosphere locations of position of 5 lines. 5 lines are the grounds in circle. 5 lines are the position of power lines, and 5 position locations of the atmosphere line. 5, 10, 15. So in position location, fluctuation line connections, 15 on one side, 15 on the other side line center, in position locations equals line center locations of 30 position location of direction. All right. 30 positions of direction, guys, of north, west, south, and east. It opens all communication line connection, right? So that's 30,000 line centers, okay, in its position of its fluctuation of a new channel line center to a new correlation panel to an information location in its position of direction. okay, all through its energy hub. Ooh-ah. So it's a beautiful thing when you understand what you're doing through sequence through code system. Use line centers. I love using 7 because it's my favorite number. Okay, coming into zero line center, 0 equals 7. Okay, equals 1. But where's the 1 come from? Where does the 1 come from? Right? So it's turning standing calculation line stream. You're waking up in the morning. You're zero gravity interference. Okay, so you're at 644 in position of directions. Now, what you do in between line center is the line cross location. Now, you have basically, let's say you lie down for high line centers and night line interference location of 12 line positions of light in calculations. You get up and you are at 844. Okay. Now you got to ask yourself, I'm at 844. Can I stay at that position locations, or am I going to back clock line center to its one line system, which is its 1%? Okay, which is the 9 line center, which is your clocking system. So it's true to understanding, guys, how you use code signal locations of anything through its high line center. Astrologics, you know what that is, right? It's changing pixel activation of board streams. So you got colorations of graphs. Okay, we've been through this before. So it's all about understanding the 8 central line to its position, location, of direction. So understand the sequence patterns. Now you're in the high line center interference. Now I'm changing position locations. You have 7 days equals 24, because that's what you live every single day. 7 days of 24 line. Now this 24 line changes its position of directions. Let's say you're in 144 when you get up. Okay, you're at 144, right? So that equalizes its position location to its 8 line center. You illuminate the graph location of its position. All right, so the 144 goes into the center line center location. 144, it changes its position location. Now the 144 in position, if you want to go to high line center, let's say you're sleeping for 6 hours in sequence. Okay, so that's 6 hours, right? So that 6 hours is still in a velocity line position. So the 8 position location retracts its information location. High channel is its high line center. 8 equals 6 in high system location, right? So that's 6 hours, right? 6 hours, 24-hour day, 7 days a week line center, okay? So you're in calculations. Every single time you get up in the morning, you're on 60 seconds per minute, right? Not on a 12 line center, on a 24. That's how the avatar sees the position of direction. It doesn't see the 12. It sees the 24. You can't travel through a 12 line center without understanding the dark line system. You need the light and dark to open up a light. So you need 12 positions of light, okay? And you need 12 positions of dark. Circle, circle, position locations in high line center to all line connections. There's the intelligence into the yin and yang position. Ooh-ah, 6 and 9. So that's a true understanding where you're using rank graph line centers. Now, this is extremely important when you're coming in position location of its direction. All right. But I just wanted to show you how powerful it is to understand every single time you're in a sequence pattern, you're changing your thoughts second by second by second on a 24 signal, not a 12, a 24. Because the 12 line center is position locations of the male, but you don't have the female. So the female's not there, or the female's here and the male's not there. You need the male and the female for 12 and 12, right? So it's the light and the dark. See, light, dark, program setting, balanced communication, line connections. So you have to understand the atmospheres of position locations of time, of space. Okay, so in track center, get in position of its directions, know exactly what you're doing through your own betting. Copy and paste line interference and position location line system. Okay, understanding your link and chains of wires, understanding the program locations of the ground line rotation, understanding the weather pattern communication system, understanding your clocking line center interference locations in position of 144 line connection. Right? This is important. You have to understand how to use the letter sequence to its position of direction to your thoughts. It gets complicated, doesn't it? But it's a lot more fun now because you're starting to understand why. And that why becomes the how. It's how everything operates inside of you through clocking system, right? Because you have 12 lines of light and you have 12 lines of dark. It's interesting, right? Because you're living on a 24-hour, right? 24 hours in one day, right? So that's the calculation right there in that formation to its line connections, right? It's interesting how I say yin yang, falling location 69, right? Thumbs up 3. So that's 3 positions of the sun and 69 programs, right? 6, 9 equals 3. That's what's on my YouTube. In position location of communication to this highline center. It's a coincidence? No. So in calculations, now it's 68. Now it's 66. Do you see how fast I changed that from 69 to 68 to 66? Now you got to ask yourself, is it going to be 64? No, it's going to be 65. Calculation to high interference is to know exactly how to go back in time. Back in time is actually going forward in time. And it's important to understand how to go through your sequence locations of 10 to 1 and not 1 to 10. You're starting your position location of directions. So every time you are in position of recharging, you're charging all line center in its direction locations. Your flight navigations from 1 to 12. Okay, but it's interesting. Look at this factor. You don't go from 12 to 1 because the flight navigation is in your position, location, and direction. So you start from flight 1 to flight 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's interesting too, right? It's knowing how to use the clocking system. You think you're going backwards from 10 to 1, but you're not. You're going higher. Now, once you reach a highline center, you go back in sequence location of 1 to 12, flight navigations, and then you come into the escape. You escape in position location of directions, and you can actually change the viewers of its followers in its connections. That's 64 in high center. What did I say before? I said 64. 64 3-line connections of the sun. So the sun is in the 3-line position of 64 locations of division and travel. Do you see how powerful that is? All through number sequence. Do I think about these things? No. It's all knowing and doing. What you are calculating through your travels. Okay? That's why it's so incredibly powerful when you see your position, location of direction. Okay? So 64 equals 3, right? So in channel line center, change the ground interference, power records of time location, in direction of 1 high line center interference of magnetic highway information system, bring it back in communication of 3-line channels in high interference location, ground interference location in its direction. Now it's 65. See? 65. Did you see with that? 64 equals line center locations, indigent high center, negative and a positive line center equals 1, which equals 65. Ooh-ah. So it went from 64 to 65 all through ground location to its magnetic highway information system to its power generation light center. I'm just showing you how powerful it is when I can use the followers. Now it's at 64. See? 64. So my computer is reading the position location, all levels of the I-line center, which is reaching higher position locations of patterns in a magnetic highway information system to its correlation of its data stream. Now it's at 63, right? So this comes in position locations of 63. See how that works? So it's all about understanding where the sun is in position, where the moon is in position, location of its calculations. I just showed you how amazing it is when I can look at a clocking center and it's in calculations of 29 minutes and 35-second line system locations and 63 positions into 3-line centers of the sun, back into 64, all through correlation of travel. So you really, really have to understand your positions of your sun and your moon every single day because it's you in all lines of travel. Okay? So it's pretty interesting when you come across these things, right? Now it's at 62. So it's determination. And if you have the right communication of frequencies, I know exactly what number it's going to be without even thinking the process line. Now it's at 64. See? It's registering position locations because that's where it is, 64. Communication in the digital line center. This position of 4-line position of the sun. White is the high-line center locations of the moon. And the travel is me through its position to its 1%. Okay? So it's staying at 64 equals 3, where it first started off. Now it's back at 65. So it's amazing when you see these things. They track location. Try to get into that formation. Do some traveling and go through your signals of your time and your calculations if you're going to go live on YouTube. See how many followers go up and see how many followers go down. Now it's at 61. So it's just letting things flow over space and line of time communication on exactly where the sun is in position, and we're knowing exactly where the fluctuation of the moon is through its program. Now it's at 62, right? So it's in calculation high interference line positions. Now in calculation line streams, it will go back up to 65, right? So it's important to understand these things, and it's all levels of view. Right? It's important you understand the grasp. It's understanding all line conditions to your computer adaptation line or rotation. In position of directions, 61. Right? So you have to know how to use your calculations of clocking, how to use the rotation and interference in position of directions. So it's at 60 locations equals 3. All right? So that's 60 lines, okay? A ground line center, power direction, time location, there's the intelligence. In position locations and magnetic highway formation line conditions, bringing it in position location to 3 line positions in the atmosphere line, power line, and air rotation to its ground location. Right? Now it's at 60. See? How did I know it was at 60 location? You guys really, really have to understand your travels. Now it's back at 61. So try to use your clocking centers. Try to understand your positions of your live on your time. Now it's at 61, location at 3. So it's really understanding that this is highline center location. The sun can be anything through mutation. This is the sun. This is the moon. And this is me through travel. Right? It's pretty interesting. Look at that. They're saying, what? This is the sun? Yes, it is. Right? Because you're holding it in your hand. Okay? The sun is not out there. It's inside you. So you have to understand the travel and why it's so powerful to understand these things. Okay? So, all right, so let's take you guys out. 33 line centers. Let's go into 20 track locations and the 62 positions of 3 line centers, locations of the sun. Reset line interference location on lines. Put positions back in track line centers. All communications interference locations. Bring the team back in position. Now you're back. Where's it at? 64. 64! Back where I came from the very beginning. Now it's back at 65. What did I say it was going to be? Back in location of 64 equals 3 line. Now it's at 66. Now it's at 67. Now it's going on its own because class is over. So class is over. Now it continues its force line center. In position, it can go up or it can go down in fluctuation. Right? So it's controlling the magnetic position location of its air. The balance is extremely important through the mind line to its location. All right. What is the intent? What is the will? What is the force? And what is the position locations of creation to its location? Okay. Zip, zap, zoom. All right, guys. That was a lot of fun. So tomorrow, quiz. See you guys later. Be there or square. Adios.